2019 high school football on SHN Sports is proudly presented by Georgetown Jewelry. Georgetown Jewelry is your trusted local jewelry store, family owned and operated since 2013. Whether you desire a one-of-a-kind custom piece or want to enjoy browsing our inventory of both unique and traditional jewelry and watches, stop by and see us at Georgetown Jewelry. We also specialize in jewelry repair and appraisals. For more information, please visit Georgetown Jewelry, located in the Williamsburg Village Shopping Center in Georgetown, or online at georgetownjewelry.com. Central Texas High School football on SHN Sports is made possible by Georgetown and Austin Shirt Company. 3 words describe Georgetown and Austin Shirt Company: simple, reliable, and awesome. We support our community. From screen printing and embroidery to promotional products, Georgetown and Austin Shirt Company helps put your brand on your business. Get started on your project today by getting a quick and easy quote online at georgetownshirtcompany.com. Jimmy Jacobs' reputation for building beautiful custom homes in Central Texas speaks for itself. For over 30 years, he has been behind some of the most successful and sought-after new home developments in Georgetown. Grand Endeavor Homes represents a new era of elegant custom home building. Now joined by his son, Justin Jacobs, Jimmy has launched Grand Endeavor Homes to continue his legacy and reputation for custom homes in Georgetown and the surrounding areas. Visit GrandEndeavorHomes.com for details and directions to the model home.
Well, it is that time again. Thanks for joining us here on SHN Sports for SHN Gridiron, presented by Georgetown Jewelry. We're live from the Georgetown Jewelry broadcast studio. I'm Rob Hipp alongside Michael Francis. Michael, always a pleasure, man, getting to be here with you every Wednesday. Excited about this week, man?
Absolutely excited about it. Bye week for Eastview, so I get the opportunity to look into some other games and see what's on the docket. But 2 districts in bye weeks this week, and both Georgetown and Eastview will take the bye.
On the docket.
On the docket. All the teams in District 13 5A Division II are on bye weeks, but in District 11 5A D1, all teams are playing with the exception of Georgetown. Georgetown decided not to play a 4th non-district game. So,
well, they will, and what's weird is they're on the bye week. They'll play that 4th non-district game against Stephenville coming up on Friday, and that's going to be a good one because last year, of course, Georgetown up in Stephenville. And I'm going to say it just because we got to say the truth. There was something up there in Stephenville that just didn't settle well. You were with me.
Yes, sir.
And God bless her soul, but there was a camera lady there. And she told us real quick that we were not in the right spot and that we needed to leave, even though we were there 2 hours early. Respect your elders, and we left.
Right.
And it was
we gave her spot, and she was happy.
I don't know if we were. We enjoyed it, though.
Yeah, we had a good time. I ate at Whataburger afterwards, but then again, most Friday nights we ate at Whataburger.
Well, we always have a lot of fun. Well, friends, tonight we are very excited. You probably saw here as we got started, we'll have Thomas Jones, the community sport editor for the Austin American-Statesman, joining us tonight. We'll also talk to head coach of the Hutto Hippos, Mr. Brad LaPlante. Been an awesome job so far getting to be involved with the Hutto schools and all of the great work that they do. We'll talk a little bit about that game versus El Paso del Valle, which was an awesome opportunity there for those kids. And then for the first time here on SHN Gridiron, we will talk to Georgetown quarterback Mr. Darson Herman. But a lot of games going on. We'll dig into those before too long. But, Michael, how are you doing this week, man? It's been a fun week. Everything rocking and rolling, and it's crazy to believe that we just wrapped up week 3 heading into week 4 already, which is unbelievable, man.
And thinking next week is the halfway point in most teams' regular season schedule at week number 5. And I think, gosh, man, as much as we waited for it to get here with such anticipation and then realizing right now, hey, we're almost at the midway point of the high school football season, or the regular season anyway, it just seems like it's going by like a vapor.
Well, everything moves really fast. Of course, last week I was in Grand Forks, North Dakota. Man, it's weird. You get on a plane and it's, 90, the high temperature in the upper 90s. Of course, we get on early in the morning in College Station, and it's still in the 90s, even that early in the morning. Well, I say early. I mean, it was around 11 o'clock by the time we boarded the plane, but it's hot. It's humidity. You're just humid. You get in a plane. You get up in the air. 2.5 hours later, you're almost to Canada, which is unreal. Just to fathom that fast you can be almost to another country. You get off the plane. It is 52 degrees.
Oh, man.
47-degree wind chill.
Ooh,
we go into the hotel, and then, whenever you walk into buildings, like a grocery store that has the automatic sliding doors, there's usually vents that blow air to keep the bugs out and all that jazz. Yeah. Well, this one, you walk in, guess what's on? The heater.
Oh, my goodness.
So you go from AC to heat in 2.5 hours, and my color analyst over at SAM, Brian Adams, awesome guy, and really enjoyed getting to work with him. We both kind of were under the weather that whole trip after that. Just that dramatic weather change.
Well, you have to acclimate, and a couple of days or a day and a half is not enough time to acclimate to that particular type of weather change.
I mean, it just happened so fast, and that's kind of the way that it goes. But we're back. I was able to check in with a lot of our guys on SHN. It was a lot of fun talking to those guys and catching up, and a lot of things on the network, and just so much going on throughout the Central Texas region. And that's why we're so honored to have a guest here on this show that we talk to every Wednesday. Of course, we've talked to Mark Champ last week from the Austin American-Statesman. I've seen a lot on social media over the years with Thomas Jones and the work that he does. And actually, we have Thomas Jones on the line as our first guest here this afternoon, and excited to have him. Thomas, can you hear us out there?
Yes, sir. How are y'all doing?
Hey, great, Thomas. Well, man, first of all, thank you for your accessibility. You guys, I know, stay tremendously busy with all the work that you do, but just wanted to have an opportunity to bring you onto the show. Have enjoyed your coverage here on SHN, and just really wanted to have you on today to talk about Central Texas high school football. Some teams in a bye week, quickly moving along. Thomas, what has been your thoughts so far, man?
It's, there's a lot of surprises, good and bad. It's funny. I was out visiting Vista Ridge today, working on a story on those guys, and they're one of the best surprises in Central Texas. I mean, they were 1-9 last year. Now they're 3-0, scoring a ton of points. They've been fun to watch.
Yes, sir. Well, before we dig in, quite a bit more here with high school football, Thomas, talk a little bit about yourself, how your connection to the Austin area, your job with the Statesman. Again, we appreciate you and Rick and Mark and all the fine work that you do, but just a little bit of an opportunity to talk about you and the work that you get to do there with the Statesman.
Well, I've been in Austin about 30 years, and then I've been doing been in the newspaper business 20 years. I still have a job, knock on wood, so that's always a plus. And, I've been covering high school for most of that 20 years. It's fun. It's rewarding. The kids are fun to work with. The coaches are educators as much as coaches, and that's very fun to work with those guys. It's a labor of love for these guys.
Absolutely. Well, Thomas, over those years, and your content has just been awesome to keep an eye on. I know that I reached out to you kind of out of the blue on Twitter, and again, I really appreciate you being able to come on here tonight and just talk a little bit about what you do and these high school kids. You've been covering high school sports for a while. Kind of the same question that I asked Mark, and from your perspective, what have you seen over the years that's kind of really changed with high school football and athletics?
Well, there's a lot more specialization in general. You don't see so many of those kids that, hey, say they play football in the fall, then they go play basketball, then they play baseball or run track. You don't see that quite as much, and that's disappointing. That's why I still like going to some of the small towns where you do see that. I think that's been the biggest change over the last 20 years or so.
Yes, sir. Well, there with the community sport editor we're talking with, again, Thomas Jones from the Austin American-Statesman. Some of the articles that you write on, we, like I said, enjoy your coverage. Mark, primarily in the Williamson County area. Talk about some of the schools that you've mentioned some earlier when we first came on, but some of the schools that you have the privilege of highlighting every week, Thomas.
Hey, man, we cover them all. We go from basically Georgetown to San Marcos, Blanco to Elgin to Giddings to LaGrange. I try to mix it up. Like, for example, this week I'll be at House Park, watch Westlake and Austin High, and I love going to House Park. It's historic, right in the middle of the city, beautiful setting. But then I like going out to the small towns, too. Blanco's one of my favorite stops. I went out to LaGrange last year. So I try to mix it up. It's a good mix out here.
What would you say, Thomas, you talked about the small towns. What are some of the most rewarding parts of your career, and what do you enjoy most about your coverage, Thomas?
Well, aside from trying out all the nice barbecue and Mexican places and putting it on the boss's tab, just meeting people. Like I said, these coaches, they're in education. That's what they are first. They're working with kids, and they're spending a lot of time around kids, and they do it for the love. You're not getting rich doing this, unless you're one of the handful of lucky coaches making over $100,000. But it's just the time they put into it. It's inspiring.
Hey, Thomas, Michael Francis. You were visiting with Vista Ridge and Coach Vincent over there, and they have a big game this week with Westwood. Now, Westwood, through their first 3 games, have played exceptionally close games. What was the expectation with Coach Vincent and the Rangers about this Friday's upcoming game?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, with Westwood, you're getting your money's worth. With the first game, it goes to overtime, they lose it. The second game, Austin High fails on a 2-point conversion at the end. Last week, Westwood gets a 2-point conversion, beats Hendrickson. They're really playing well. Coach Anthony Wood's doing a great job. And Vista Ridge, just, the fact that those guys went 1-9 last year, that really stuck in their craw. And I was talking to Coach Vincent today and some of the kids out there, and the work they put in the off season really paid off. They all stayed invested. Despite that 1-win campaign, they said, look, this isn't Vista Ridge football. And now they've come out, beat 3 teams that beat them last year, and they're throwing the ball around the park. They're playing good defense. Really a fun turnaround to see.
Yeah, it's really a good expectation to see from Vista Ridge, especially off that down year that they had last year and the good year that they had the previous year. So it's good to see that turnaround coming in at 3-0 and 1-0 in district.
Yeah, and Coach Vincent's been there 10 years, and he's won a lot more than he's lost. So I think you're seeing last year was an anomaly, and now Vista Ridge is back in the playoff hunt.
Well, Thomas, Rob Hipp here again. I don't like to make this show a Georgetown show. We're based out of Georgetown, of course, here at SHN, but this Georgetown team last week, just a scathing victory there versus South San, 11-8. Just kind of your thoughts on some of these schools up here in Williamson County, and particularly Georgetown and Eastview. Eastview out to a great start this season. Man, Cedar Creek 3-0. That is unbelievable as they continue to roll. Your thoughts on some of the schools up here in Williamson County?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Coach Dean is now in the athletics office, but they still kind of have that Dean mentality, don't they? Just tough, scrappy, you want a fist fight, Georgetown will get in the trenches and slug it out with you. And that's a tough South San team they beat last week. And to go down to that part of San Antonio and beat those guys, that's not easy. Georgetown, when I think of them, that G on the helmet stands for grit, in my opinion. They're just always a rugged bunch. And look what Eastview's doing. And they both have first-year coaches. And they're both, a combined 6-0?
6-0,
I think that under 2 first-year coaches. That tells you something about the Georgetown athletic department.
Then you talk about Coach Edwards down over at Cedar Creek now. I know that's not Williamson County, but down in Bastrop, 3-0. Your thoughts on their start? It has been a tremendous season, and really for some, maybe an unexpected start as they have never started 2-0. Of course, now every win continues that record. Your thoughts on Cedar Creek? They've done well.
Hey, we got to break up Wilco and Bastrop County because Bastrop's 3-0 too. Now
Right,
Cedar
yeah.
Creek, look, John Edwards he's a son of Bastrop County. He's a native. Calls himself a river rat. Grew up on the Colorado down there. I think it's taken him in about 5 years, and he finally has that program. The numbers are good. The numbers are strong. Kids are coming out. And then the talent on that team there's some elite players. We all know about Alfred Collins, the big defensive lineman that UT wants. But Coach Edwards' son, Cade Edwards, is one of the best linebackers around, and he's really the heart and soul of that defense. And they're scoring points. Really good start for Cedar Creek.
You know, we're blessed here with organizations in Georgetown, Thomas, that help sponsor a lot of what we do to help make this coverage possible for these kids. Cedar Creek, I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag just a little bit. They were our SHN Sports Player of the Week last week was Ty Pruitt there for Cedar Creek. It is another Cedar Creek kid this week. So I'm letting the bag out early. We're going to present that award tomorrow. Do you have any ideas who that may be, Thomas?
Oh, I think it may be a kid who had, I believe, 3 returns for a touchdown in that win over Fredericksburg last week. But I'm just guessing. I'm going to let y'all reveal that.
We won't let the cat out of the bag any more than that. Well, Thomas, we appreciate you, man. I know that you guys stay busy. Just some of your final thoughts this season on how things are shaping up. And again, just a final shout-out, Thomas. Appreciate you.
You bet. Yeah, it's district's going to get rolling in full next week. We're already seeing some guys in district. So all these games now, they matter. Non-district is essentially preseason. It doesn't matter at Hill of Beans. And now every game matters. So get out to a game Friday, support your team, and y'all have fun.
Awesome. Well, Thomas, we appreciate you. And as I tell to all the Austin media guys, we've been tremendously blessed in this area to get to know several of you. I know that I haven't had a chance yet, Thomas, to meet you in person, but just chatting with you on Twitter, again, your accessibility means the world to us. And most importantly, man, thank you for what you do in helping to bring exposure to these kids. And you mentioned it earlier, especially some of these small schools as well. We want to make sure that they're on the radar. So thank you for all that you do, man.
All right, and thanks, guys. Keep up the good work. Everybody appreciates it. Thank you. Bye.
Appreciate it. Have a good night, Thomas.
Bye-bye.
Well, yet again, Michael, I talk so much about these guys in the Austin media market. Another one right there, right up there with Rick Cantu and Mark Champ. Thomas does such great work. And you talk about high school football in the state of Texas. It doesn't get any better than what we see here in this area.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The Texas is the best by far. In talent-wise, that's why colleges come to the state of Texas, and you look at the rosters of colleges that border the state. LSU, look how many players come from Texas. You look at Oklahoma, Arkansas. All those people come to Texas because that's where the players are. That's where the greatest strength of players are. Quarterbacks. I mean, my goodness, look in the NFL right now at 2 outstanding quarterbacks in Baker Mayfield and Patrick Mahomes. I mean, look at what Patrick Mahomes is doing. He's the outstanding NFL quarterback, and he played his high school ball right here in Texas.
Well, as we continue to talk, Rob Hipp here with Michael Francis. Again, we're live from the Georgetown Jewelry Broadcast Studio. A lot of great games on the network last week, or last Friday, if you will, going back. Some schools still looking for some wins here in the season. Leander having their struggles early, but again, a brand new head coach out of there to Chris Price doing a great job, and it's going to take a little bit of time. That's a good community. It's always been just a wonderful community to be a part of, and again, we know that there's good things in store for Leander. They just got to continue to work through some of those bumps in the road. We're blessed here in Georgetown because, as we stated earlier, our Georgetown Eagles and Eastview both 3-0. Another great game for Eastview, man. Talk about that one.
Oh, they went into Nelson Field last Friday night to take on the Northeast Raiders, and we had heard that Northeast actually had a new mascot name, but talking with the fans there, they're still the Raiders, and that's what they called them over the PA. And but the team itself had no decals on their helmets; they were just white helmets and wearing their powder blue uniforms. But, their band plays with a lot of gusto and in the fan stands and all of that, or in their bands or stand songs is what I'm thinking, and but those kids never quit. They were down, and Eastview was scoring on every possession, and they just dominated and were outmatched by the Eastview Patriots on Friday night. Late in the game, they ended up getting a score against the second team defense, and finally scored the first points of the season so that they weren't shut out. But it was a good game for Eastview coming into the bye. They'll get the rest up, and fortunately they've been pretty much injury-free, so the injury bug hasn't gotten to the Patriots, and look forward to a very tough district schedule coming up, because right now you have Cedar Creek that's 3-0, you've got Eastview that's 3-0, you've got Bastrop that's 3-0. So those three teams are sitting atop District 13 5A D2, and then right behind them you've got Weiss at 2-1, Brenham at 2-1, Glenn at 1-2, and Elgin at 1-2. And I wanted to mention about Elgin, Rob, is they played this past Friday night, and they won. And I'll look for that score right quick.
It's always my favorite community to go through, Michael. Sorry, just trying to get a few other things set up here for some more of our guests coming on in a minute. But you got to love that community as well. And you know, we've got two Georgetown guys over there, when Coach Moore and his son, who used to be here in Georgetown. In fact, I graduated with Coach Moore's son, Travis. And so that community's been tremendous, man.
Oh, absolutely. Anyway, I for some reason I can't find the score on here, but they ended up winning their game, and there it is. They beat Pflugerville 37-28, and Pflugerville is a pretty decent team, so you can't turn your back on the Elgin Wildcats. They're going to sneak up on you, so I think that they're going to be a player in deciding that playoff picture for District 13 5A D2.
Well, you know, so many schools throughout Central Texas, and we'll talk more about those schools as we continue here on SHN Gridiron, but so many wonderful schools, so many wonderful kids throughout this area. And we talked to Todd Robinson, the Director of Communications. Hutto Hippos, blessed to have them as part of the SHN family this year. Last Friday, a very special game for the El Paso Del Valle community as they traveled all the way to El Paso. A very emotional game. Hutto, the victors on that game, 38-14. But you know, at the end of the day, it's more than just football, and we got to witness that and see that and hear Todd's call and see some of the pictures and some of the media attention from that game. But it was just an awesome opportunity for the Hutto community to be there and to support Del Valle out of El Paso, and that community, of course, going through some pretty rough stuff there, you know, just a short while ago. But it's our honor and privilege now on the line, the head football coach of the Hutto Hippos, Coach Brad LaPlante. Coach, how you doing tonight?
Good evening. Thanks for having me on, brother.
Well, Coach, appreciate you. I know that you guys have been busy, off to a great season, Hutto rocking and rolling. Before we talk a little bit about the season, Coach, wanted to dig right in on Friday night. And again, appreciate you and your accessibility, by the way. But on Friday night, what a powerful game, and just a way for the way that it was phrased, you know, Hippo Nation is El Paso strong. Talk about that game and how special it was, Coach.
Well, you know, we kind of sat down a few weeks ago, just some of the leaders in our district, and just kind of thought, you know, we really need to do something for their group of people and stand up for them and just let them know that we're thinking about them. And we know it's tough for kids to, you know, travel 8, 9, 10 hours to play a football game in itself, and, you know, just different things on their mind with their family. And I guess you're taking 15, 16, 17-year-old boys, you're going to put them in a bus to the city, drive to the game, play again, and then drive back in the middle of the night. And we knew that their school district had I think it's trying to do a few years ago, I think with the track and field team. They had an accident late at night, and, you know, when you have one tragedy and another one happens, it always brings up old memories. So we kind of got in touch with some of their people and just threw some things around, and how can we pay tribute to them and let them know that we're thinking about them. And, as it is, it just takes a little spark and a little idea, and pretty soon you got a big fire. And our district really did things right, as they always do.
Yes, sir. Well, Coach, we appreciate, what you guys do there at Hutto, and again, a blessing to have Hippo Nation on the SHN Sports Network this season, as we really want to help highlight these kids and bring exposure to them. And Coach, as you know, of course, it's more than just football. Talk a little bit about the character development and some of those things that you instill with these kids at Hutto.
Well, there's a lot of things that we talk about with our Above the Line program, and just choices and events that young men and women of students and athletes are presented with each day in the classroom, out in the community, on the football field or court, what have you. So those are things we talk about throughout the year. And, you try to instill success in the kids. And certainly as adults, we've all made thousands of mistakes ourselves, and we always want to take care of kids and not let them make, big life-changing mistakes, and we want to leave them better than when we found them. So our coaching staff does a great job with that. We're trying to develop the culture within our building, and
I see what's possible instead of what's here.
Out to the walls of our high school, and certainly that starts with our character development program. That leads into some academics and study table things that we do, and monitoring weekly grades, and just making sure we help stay on top of it. And, certainly then it ends up with football. But they know that, from top to bottom, it's safe, it's family, it's building on their future. And then at the end of the day, we get to play a little football too. So I think our guys in our locker room certainly get what it is. And if you saw in the television interviews of our players, I think 3 of them had gotten interviewed there. They certainly understand that the game of football, really is just a huge brotherhood. And so as coaches, when we're on Twitter connecting with other coaches, talking about culture and scheme and playbooks and just what they're doing to better their team, level.
Well, Coach, we appreciate, again, you. This season, 3-0, off to another great season. You opened the season versus West Mesquite, 41-21. Took care of business at Liberty Hill on the road, 42-14. Quickly talk about that one. I know it was a couple of weeks ago, but, Liberty Hill, it was a lot closer last year. This year, a little bit of a turnaround there. Talk about those Panthers, man. It's a tough contest in 4A.
Well, they're a really, really good team. Have a great system and have for years. And, I think our guys, maybe at times were, baffled by their system. Even a couple of kids, mentioned that they were, just kind of embarrassed because, we've had a good defense for years and made the playoffs 5 years in a row. And you don't do that without a good defense. So some of those guys that were returning as players, it was a big challenge for them. It was a big week of preparation. I know our defensive staff, man, they really had a great game plan ready to go. The players executed it. Guys playing different positions. We had guys that were on the sidelines just based on formations and what their offense dictated. So, it was just a nice team win for this. And it was really good. And of course, our offense is starting to click a little bit. A lot of young guys there, a lot of new players trying to get those guys to gel. And so it was a really good night at Liberty Hill, and definitely a good showing for the Hippos.
Hey, Coach, Michael Francis. Talk about for just a minute your offense. Losing Chase last year and Chooks, people thought that maybe your offensive production wouldn't be as good as what it was last year, but your guys are really stepping up, and y'all are scoring a lot of points.
We are, and certainly we miss those guys. They're fantastic leaders, number one. Good classroom guys, good weight room guys, and certainly good on the football field too. But that's what, when I came to Hutto in 2014, it was really clear that things were changing under the leadership of Coach Vanmeter. So we're just kind of continuing what he started and just, tweaking things here and there. We've got such good community support. We've got great kids. So when you have kids that believe in an offensive system, the way that they do. Now, we're not running every exact play that we have over the past few years, and we're coming out of some different formations, but a lot of our concepts are still the same. And, I'll say that's a credit to, going all the way down to our middle school coaches and our youth football coaches in town. They're running our schemes. They're talking our terminology. So when we get them up at the high school, after we've taught those youth coaches and middle school coaches, and our kids are familiar with the verbiage, then we can just kind of show up a little bit bigger scheme play and show up some technique, and our kids fit right into the system. And so a lot of people are talking about Liberty Hill and kids running their offense for years and years. Well, that's what we're doing at Hutto too, and that's what we're trying to create. And it's just been a fabulous thing to see all the coaches and community and kids come together and seeing seventh graders, throw a 20-yard pass, and just, it's beautiful to see. And, the best thing that we I believe, is to have the ability that, hey, if the first and second thing don't work, we've got options 3, 4, and 5 to go to. And luckily, we've got a very nice quarterback, Grayson Darson, an upcoming sophomore here, who's really doing a nice job leading us so far this year.
Well, Coach, we appreciate your time this afternoon. Just a couple of quick final questions here. You'll face Lamar coming up, I believe, this on the 20th here, so that just coming up here in a couple of days, of course, on Friday, and then at Pflugerville, Connolly, and then really it's Georgetown and Cedar Park, 2 back-to-back games. Cedar Park, of course, kind of stunned there to open the season, or once they got started a little bit there with a loss early on. Georgetown 3-0. Boy, it's going to be a tough battle for all of these teams here in the district. Talk a little bit about those matchups, Coach. It's going to be a great start here to district play after the next couple of weeks, or next week.
Well, it is, and I certainly want to point out the athleticism of Manor. They may not be where they want to be recognized, but certainly they got some talented kids there. So we know going into it, we've got a very, very tough 4-game non-district schedule. Certainly, people might look at our record 3-0 versus Houston Lamar being 0-3, but the likes of the teams that they played with Spring Westfield and the Woodlands, and then Beaumont Westbrook, that's one of the best 0-3 teams in the state. Don't get me wrong there. So that's going to be a big challenge for us to play a nice 6A school, a very traditional program, and come out of there healthy, because we do have a short week against Pflugerville Conley, and then we'll have a little bit of rest time, which could be a very good showdown with the good Georgetown Eagles ball club. But certainly, Cedar Park and Pflugerville and Manor, and down the stretch, we just know that 11-5A is never an easy one. It certainly wasn't easy last year, and it's going to be all about turnovers and penalties, and certainly who is going to stay healthy down the stretch. And then a lot of times in these games, it just comes down to the matchups. Does somebody's offensive line overpower a defensive line, or is somebody's DBs better than their wide receivers? So as you go week to week, it's all about creating those matchups that are good for your team. And certainly we like what we have going right now. We're very happy to be sitting at 3-0, but certainly not satisfied any means, and we need to continue to get better every day. Our kids have had a fantastic week of practice this week, and we're just building momentum and just like what they're doing.
Well, Coach, you mentioned, of course, 11-5A, a very tough district. I know that all too well, broadcasting Georgetown for the past 5 seasons, but it's really been awesome to have Hutto in the football district again. I kind of feel like it's a rivalry renewed. Of course, with redistricting, you lose some of those rivalries, and then they come back. And so, again, you guys down the road from us here have always just been a friend of SHN, and again, this season, excited to have you on the network. Coach, I asked the kids this. I'm going to ask you tonight before we let you go. Who do you want to send a shout-out to tonight, Coach?
Well, we'll start with my awesome wife, Christy. She's a teacher here at Hutto ISD. Does a great job with her special education kiddos there at Johnson Elementary. Both my boys been playing a little outside backer and quarterback and wide receiver for Farley Middle School. I've got a 7th grader and an 8th grader there, and certainly I wouldn't be remiss to take care of Hippo Nation. So blessed that our family found Hutto in 2014, and just can't wait to see what we can do as a family during the time there. And then we'll go 1,200 miles north to Minnesota to the LaPlante. We've got 8 brothers and sisters total in our family, and a lot of nieces and nephews up there. So, I certainly do miss them and wish they could see more of our games. But we're on a mission down here to do some good things in Texas, so we'll give them one tonight.
Awesome. Well, Coach, again, appreciate all that you do to help bring exposure to these kids. And from us at SHN, man, you make our job easy. So thank you for allowing us the accessibility to interview you. And to you and your family, have a blessed night. Thanks again, Coach. We sincerely appreciate all you do.
Well, thank you, Rob, for everything that you guys do, and thanks for covering the Hippos.
You bet. Have a good night, Coach.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Well, just hearing there, of course, from head coach Brad LaPlante. What a great guy, man. He came here in 2014. He is continuing that, I guess you call it just the Hippo legacy, man. You know, these Hippos. Yeah. We used to joke on Georgetown on the broadcast. We said, we're trying to put the Hippos back in the water. Well, guess what? Coach LaPlante and his staff and what they do, these Hippos are out of the water. They are a force to be reckoned with year in and year out. Just a tremendous team. You've seen so many good kids go through that, such as Chooks Wabuko and now with Mackay and all these young men just doing such great work, Michael. And, it's something that you asterisk. If you're in Georgetown, you put a star on some of these games. I mean, every game technically is going to be a star if you look at it that way, especially in district play. But there's some that Georgetown kids will tell you that they really want to get, and that would be a Cedar Park and a Hutto. Every year it seems like that's really the two teams. Georgetown, of course, now here versus Hutto, we're 1-1 going back to that after redistricting and things. So it's been an opportunity for the Eagles, but they have got a really tough battle against these Hippos, man.
Oh, for sure. The one thing that you want in district is you want to face good competition, especially if you're one of those top teams. Because once you get beyond by district, it's a tough out. And the Hippos were disappointed last year that they didn't make a deeper run into the playoffs, having come through and win the district championship and defeat an outstanding Cedar Park team to win district. So. It's you want that in your district so that when you get outside of district, you can handle the pressure and you can handle teams that play at that next level.
Well, and there's been other teams throughout the time. Rouse no longer in the district here. Those kids well. Talk about them a little bit and their season so far. It's the Raiders have kind of had an up and down battle here over the years, but still a solid team and trying to do good things this season.
Well, they've got their hands full this week. They're going to play at A&M Consolidated. They're 0-3 so far on the season, so they're struggling to make things happen. They've been shut out twice, but they almost beat Anderson in week number 2. That was a very close game, 14-13. And I know that those young men are frustrated that they haven't been able to generate much offense. And Coach Mann, I believe that Coach Mann will get things turned around, and Rouse will at least be competitive through district.
Well, we go back to 11-5A where things shaping up very nicely for Hutto, for Georgetown. Georgetown coming off of that, I call it a scathing victory, 11-8, and it was a tough battle. A South San team that last year wasn't the same team that they are this year. A lot more composed, a lot more talent on the field there with the 6A team. But again, the Eagles take care of business, and they're right where they need to be in the thick of things here, especially as they had that bye week this week. They get a little bit of rest, and then rocking and rolling versus Stephenville. That's going to be an exciting contest up there. And so we'll back here. Last year it was up there on the road. This year, of course, back here at Birkelbach. But now joined on the phone by sophomore quarterback Mr. Darson Herman. Good afternoon, Darson, or good evening, Darson. How you doing, man? We gotta get you off the phone quick. Get you in bed, man.
Good. How are you?
Hey, good, man. Well, thanks for being on SHN Gridiron with us already this year. A Georgetown Eagle SHN Sports Player of the Week. Darson, a sophomore. Talk about the journey so far, man. As a young man on the team, especially as a sophomore, the leadership you're looking up to guys. Talk about that, man.
Man, all the seniors, I just look up to them. Their leadership roles they're doing great and they're doing their jobs. And just coming in as a sophomore, just being a sophomore on varsity, it's a big role that you have to play, and you have to look up to people. You just got to play your best, and do it for the guys next to you.
For you, man, you seem to be kind of a running beast, if I can call you that. You're able to run with the ball. You've got a big frame, man. You're able to take care of that in ball control. What has that mobility and what has that running ability been like for you, and what does it mean to your offense as far as the options go?
Man, it's definitely a plus. It's really helping our game. I mean, I'll run more RPOs, of course, and Jordo he'll throw the ball around a little more, and that'll change from game to game. He might play more, I might play more. It's just depending on who we're playing. But I think it worked out against South San Antonio. It was a close game. We made some mistakes, but we came up with the win, which is what's important.
Darson, what has that been like? This is I always say, of course, I grew up here in Georgetown, born and raised here, an Eagle myself, and it's the first time that I can ever recall ever in me watching Georgetown, going to the school, and then, of course, here on SHN, having what I've called dual-threat quarterbacks. What is that transition, and what has that been like for you being alongside Jordan Oldorp and his leadership?
Jordan and all the quarterbacks we're all really respectful to each other. We're all nice. We're all supportive. We all respect each other. And just being known as a dual-threat quarterback, I have to be able to throw the ball too, not just be able to run the ball. And I've been working on it, and I think I've been doing as good as I can, being able to throw the ball around, and I'm just trying to get that playbook down. And Jordo's doing great throwing the ball around, and I'm just doing great running the ball, and hopefully we can get more of that.
Well, as we continue to talk to Georgetown Eagle quarterback Darson Herman here on SHN Gridiron, presented by Georgetown Jewelry. You guys, man, I'm getting choked up. You guys 3-0, Darson. You get a bye week this week. What have you been doing on the bye week, man?
Just practice, tutorials, trying to keep my grades up, and just trying to get heal up and get refreshed and get ready for Stephenville.
Well, last year, of course, Stephenville, they took care of business on their home field. What is the kind of maybe the change of thought process here as Stephenville comes down to Georgetown, of course, wanting a little – this year you guys want to battle back, man. Talk about those guys coming up here with this next game versus the Stephenville Yellow Jackets.
We're ready for them. We're getting even more prepared, and we're ready to go 4-0. We're excited. We already want to play this bye week. It's just we want it to go by faster, and we're just ready to play on Friday and just go 4-0 and get the win and keep doing that.
Darson, you face Stephenville, of course, the last non-district game of the season, and then you go up against a very tough schedule with Hutto and Cedar Park. We talked about it, of course, on the Eagle Nation Coaches Show. This show here, more of a Central Texas high school preview show, so we get a lot of a broader audience. But we just talked to head coach Brad LaPlante over at Hutto. They've got a good team again this year. I know that you guys have to have asterisks next to Hutto and Cedar Park. Talk about those two games coming up also.
Yeah, Cedar Park, Hutto, Stephenville, they're all three very well coached, very athletic, and they play really hard, and we got to be ready to come out there and compete and be able to keep going. And we're ready. We're preparing. We're watching film, getting in the weight room. We're just trying to prepare for Hutto and Cedar Park. They're very well coached and very athletic, and we're just doing as good as we can to plan for them and be ready to get a win.
Do you have a big asterisk on those games, Darson?
I wouldn't say it's a big asterisk, but we are looking out for them.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, just a few more questions here. Of course, we knew your brother Chandler over at UIW. I'll be on the Sam Houston call as I broadcast for the Bearcats. I'll be on that call this Saturday. Talk about his influence on your life. I've asked you in the Eagle Nation Coaches Show, but just for our extended audience here in Central Texas, you know, it's cool to kind of fill your brother's footsteps here. 2 quarterbacks ago, you know, you go back several years, and Chan, I always called him Chan the man. You know, now now it's Darson the man. Talk a little bit about Chandler and what he's meant to you, man.
Growing up with a quarterback in the family, I was always outside in the yard, and he's just elementary school and middle school, and he's just throwing heat with his varsity arm, and it's killing my hands. But now I'm getting back at him with my arm strength, so that also helps. And it's just awesome to be able to look up to him and have an older brother that's led the way, and just be able to fill his shoes in. It's just amazing. He plays a really big role.
Then your sister too, man. This is like the Herman athletic family. Talk about that, man.
Yes, she's going to her official visit to Arizona this weekend, and she's really excited. She'll be graduating early in December, and she's just excited to get down there and get playing.
Awesome, man. Well, Darson, before we let you go, very proud of what you guys have accomplished this year. Whether win or lose, we're always proud of our Georgetown Eagles, of course. It's always a joy to cover you guys, and And, you know, even as a sophomore, I see a lot of leadership qualities in you, being there at our coaches' shows and talking with the guys there. Talking just one last time about your offense and just the mentality now, 3-0, trying to go 4-0, and then district play starts. What have you been most impressed with so far this season, man?
I've been impressed with being able to run the ball, and the running backs are doing really well, playing very physical. RJ's doing well carrying the ball, and Zane and Ryan doing well when RJ's getting beat up and getting tired. They're filling in and they're doing the job well. When we're able to throw the ball, we'll get better, but we also need to work on the simple things like getting flags and just formations and just the simple things that we can fix that are just the little things that are really affecting the game.
Awesome, man. Well, you know, when you're in person, I always point at the camera and say the camera's on. There's about 1 million people watching you. So tonight we're audio over the phone. There's I think we're at about 100,000 people, you know, right now, Darson. So
110,000.
110,000, yeah, as some of our other folks would say. Who do you want to send a shout out to tonight, man?
Shout out to Jackson Tingley. I hope he gets better. Shout out to all my coaches. Shout out to all the family, and shout out to the whole defense. Been locking it up each game and doing really well. And shout out to all the quarterbacks.
Awesome, man. Well, Darson, we appreciate you. Hey, by the way, this is our 4th SHN Gridiron now, Michael? Or 5. This is our 5th show. You're our first student athlete on the show, man, since we launched. So congratulations, man.
That's exciting.
You made the interview easy. I wouldn't even think that you were a sophomore. So, well, hey, keep it up, young man. We're proud of you. Eagle Nation has your back, and not just Eagle Nation, but there's a lot of folks throughout Central Texas supporting you guys. So have a good night, buddy. Be blessed. We appreciate you, Darson. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for everything y'all do.
You bet, buddy. Have a good night.
You too.
Well, once again, that was Georgetown sophomore quarterback Darson Herman. You talk to that young man, it doesn't sound like you're talking to a sophomore on the phone. Very well-versed, very well-spoken. Another great young man, as so many of these kids across the entire network. And you talk about great kids, you talk about Gerald Cougars. My goodness.
Oh, yeah.
Versus Riesel, down 26-6. They come back in the second half. And, you know, there was a debate going on about who should be the SHN Sports Player of the Week through our player selection committee, and it was a close one. And Rodriguez over there, he didn't get the award, but you've got to give credit to what he did and what those kids at Gerald are doing. You know, above 500. They took care of business versus Florence last week. They're down at Riesel 26-6 in 3A, and Rodriguez said, I don't think so, and brings that team back 3 touchdowns. What an amazing opportunity there for those kids.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I had on my notable list was the quarterback play of Aaron Rodriguez over at Gerald when they were down by 20, and he just caught fire in the second half and passed for 3 touchdowns and was able to defeat Riesel 37-34.
That is crazy because they were down 26-6 going into halftime and then just went on fire.
And went on fire and ended up defeating a good Riesel team. And that was here on the SHN Network, our good friend Wally Harmon doing the play-by-play on that call.
And, man, when you're covering a 3A team, and I always go back to this, and it's kind of the record players circling back, this is why Carl and I started SHN 5 years ago, was to bring exposure. And we say the story of SHN is very simple. It's to help empower schools and organizations to promote their student athletes and events. That's it in a nutshell. That's what we do. That's why when we put out numbers, we're putting out, you know, factual numbers because we don't want to mislead anybody. We want folks to know the coverage and the integrity that we have for what we do. And you talk about so many wonderful kids and wonderful schools, and Gerald was that leading kind of the foundation school of SHN along with Georgetown and Eastview, Michael.
Right.
That's why we started it. And now just being blessed to bring on guys like Snowden over at Malakoff and Freddie Greer with Mejia. Again, Malakoff, Mejia, small 3A schools. They're getting coverage now that normally they may have not gotten. And I'm talking, they may have got it on Hometown FM radio, which is great. And I love Hometown FM radio, Michael. But you get to a point to where we're in the age of the Internet. We've been in the age of the Internet, man, since goodness gracious, we're 30 years now almost? That is unbelievable.
Right, yeah.
Wow,
Absolutely.
I've never thought we're going to take a break. I never thought about that. It just blew my mind, man. But we're in this age now, and the technology continues to develop and get better. these kids from small schools deserve that coverage. And especially tonight, I'm saying it because I know, how hard Wally was vouching for Rodriguez to be that. And that's a very high honor, and I think Rodriguez well-deserving. But, we look at it as a whole. So we don't ever just focus on 5A, 6A, for big schools. We look across the board with the kids that we cover. But that Gerald team, and Coach Davidson talked about it. He said, look, they've got to have the mentality that they can get out here and win because physically we've got it. It's just mental at this point.
Right.
Boy, that Riesel game, you talk about being down 26-6 at half. They come back in that second half and win. That is a huge mental booster for that Cougar team, baby.
Oh, absolutely it is. And they need a good shot in the arm before they start their district schedule. And they'll be playing Rosebud Lot this Friday night. And that will be a home game for them.
Well, we're just looking over real quick as we go back very quickly talking about some of the scores last week. Vandergrift over Cedar Ridge 28-8. Westwood taking care of business by 1 point over Hendrickson 28-27. Stony Point's been rolling 66-17 over Leander. That is a school that may go under the radar this year. Keep an eye on the Tigers over there at Stony Point. They have been doing some great work. I noticed, you've got that one, of course, on the SHN Network because that was at Bible with Chuck Cracy and those guys over there. But that's a team you got to watch out for. The Tigers, man, kind of under the radar. I'm a little nervous if you're facing Stony Point right now.
Yeah, District 13 6A, you got some tough outs that are in there, and Stony Point, you can't look past those guys. Round Rock had a bye last week, so they'll start their district schedule this week as they face McNeil at Kelly Reeves. So that's probably going to be a game that Round Rock is heavily favored in.
Then a Westlake team defeating Aikens 58-7. Austin, the Maroons over Lehman 38-14. Also last week on the SHN Network, Eastview took care of business versus Northeast, the former Reagan 61-7. Salado all over Travis 50-0. Crockett 48, Manor New Tech 6. We'll skip through some more of these ones that are closer to here. Of course, Hutto there in Hippo Nation took care of business versus El Paso del Valle. We talked to Coach LaPlante earlier, just a great game. And one thing that I wanted to point out, and I didn't talk to Coach about this, but we talked to Todd Robinson about this earlier, was they asked for the Hutto fans. They said, hey, could you guys also sit, if you can, sit on that visitor side to show support? Because these kids come all the way from El Paso. We're talking 9+ hour drive, maybe 10 or 11 on a bus. You ever been on a bus? You ever been on a bus, boy?
Right.
Boy, you get on that bus, it's about a 10-hour drive.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fun on a bus that long.
No, absolutely not.
And so those kids come over here. What an opportunity for them on the bus. There was a guy that I used to talk to. He had a real country accent. He'd always, boy, you better get on that bus. You get on the bus. The bus only goes, 55 miles an hour. And the Hutto fans, they're showing support. Man, that is just tremendous, man. Glenn taking care of business. McCallum 35-14. Anderson, oh, baby, 3-0. Where did the Trojans come from, man? This is a team that just came out of nowhere this year.
Right. Well, Karsten Gross, quarterback for the Trojans, has done an outstanding job leading his team. They had a close one versus Rouse where they just got by 1 point. So extremely close game, and they've managed to take it 3-0. And look and see who they play this week.
Yeah, as far as Anderson. While you're looking at that, touch a few base here. Burnett, the Bulldogs, 54-31. We talked to Austin Chittum just, I believe, last week or the week before about the Corey Fulbright documentary there, the Everman player back in 2002 that was disabled permanently after that hit. And I cannot wait for that story to come out. Very excited to hear about that, Michael. It's going to be great. And we'll have coverage here on SHN, of course, regarding that.
So back to Anderson, and the reason I was missing it was I was looking for the game on Friday. They actually play tomorrow night, and they will be playing Hayes.
I wonder if this just shows my ignorance right now because things have been rocking and rolling so much that, we may end up having one of those. Of course, we have the AISD Thursday night game of the week here on SHN Sports, and just looking through some of our scheduling here, let's look at some of those games because we've got a lot of them here this season on SHN, and trying to pull that up here briefly. We will actually have, I believe, that's going to be the 19th. That would have been a good one. We've already preset these because we didn't want to give, certain schools. We didn't want to, let's put it this way, we didn't want to give, we wanted to try to provide fair exposure across the AISD because we love what Coach Anderson, Lil Anderson does there. So on SHN, we'll actually have LBJ versus McCallum. Brad Tillery, Carl Schoening will be on that call from House Park. And so it will be our tomorrow night game, the Austin ISD Thursday night game of the week. As we continue to look around, of course, Elgin over Pflugerville, 37-28. Gerald on the road. That come from behind victory after trailing 26-6, come back and victorious 37-34. Manor defeating Liberty Hill 33-28, and then Dripping Springs 54 over New Braunfels Canyon 38. Those are some just a handful of scores among, my goodness, 30, 40 schools here, here in the Central Texas area. And here's my thing, Michael. I'm just going to say this too. If we cover one school and we're bringing exposure to one school, I don't care if we're covering 30, 40, 50% of schools in Central Texas. Mm-hmm. I'm thankful for the opportunity to even cover one because it gives that kid and that school the exposure they deserve. It's not about numbers. It's about bringing exposure to these kids. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about at the high school football level.
Right, absolutely. And, it takes preparation so that when you're broadcasting these games that, they like to be called by their name. They like to hear their number called. And if you don't prepare before these games to know who these young men are, you're doing them a disservice. Because they can go back and listen and watch this for as long as YouTube exists. It'll be on their servers. And so we want to do a top-notch job to bring out the best and present these kids in the best light possible.
Yeah, and when we give awards to kids, I'm thinking about the kid and how he feels about his performance of what he does. Like Darson, it just totally scathed through my mind that he was our SA. I said it, but it's not like I'm not going to ask Darson, what does that mean to you to get that award? What I'm going to ask Darson is what does it mean to you to be a Georgetown Eagle, and what does it mean to be around those kids? It's not about us. It's about these kids and what they do, and that's what we try to promote here,
absolutely.
Michael. And you've done a great job at Rouse for so many years promoting those kids there through the baseball program and now at Eastview and under head coach Fekoch and the leadership there in the Booster Club, getting the exposure that we've always wanted that school really to get. And Georgetown is right here in our backyard. And I've always said this, too, that, you hear the phrase, the grass is greener on the other side. Mm-hmm. Well, I challenge this to any of you tonight. Take care of your own grass first. Make sure your grass is green, then go make the other grass green because you got to take care of your house first. You got to have your house in order. And so to us, it's Georgetown and Eastview. We've worked really hard to get those schools in order with us here on SHN as far as our coverage. And now once we've established that, and Gerald, which, just right up the road, a great community, now that was established, reaching out, bringing exposure to so many of these other kids. And, man, what a journey. And Michael, not to sit here on that soapbox and keep spinning around, but I like to reminisce and I like to talk about things. And one of them is seeing these kids go through school, now in our 5th year of existence, watching these kids grow up. Watching Darson as a freshman and hearing about him when he was in junior high, and now seeing that young man as a sophomore, which – we kind of expected. We said he's going to do something great, and he's just starting, really.
Right. And
to watch that kid grow up and mature and to see his brother go through the program and to see so many other students. We talk about guys like a Bo Corrales or a Brandon Hawkins, and seeing these kids grow up and go through the program and now in college and doing so many great things. It's just awesome, man. It's
good
so cool. Caden
Leggett,
Leggett, those guys.
Yeah.
And the other day I was talking to Luis Diaz, who was our kicker when we first started broadcasting Georgetown football on SHN, and seeing him come through the program and talking with him, and he's coming up, and it's like, wow, this kid's grown up. It's like this is cool, man. So, well, we got a lot of great coverage coming up this weekend here on SHN Sports. Of course, we'll kick it off tomorrow with the AISD Thursday night game of the week. Of course, that'll be LBJ versus McCallum over at House Park. As we continue to look down, we'll go to Friday. It is the Leander Lions hosting Cedar Ridge. That a 7 p.m. kickoff. You can catch all of these games right here on SHN Sports. Eastview on their bye week. What are you going to do with your bye week, man? Go bye-bye? Bye-bye.
Right. So maybe try to get in one of these games on Friday. I may go over and watch Cedar Ridge at Leander. That's close by the house. But then again, Vista Ridge at Westwood, that might be a pretty good game to go see. Westwood plays so close, and they got such a great quarterback and a good running back in Anderson. So Martinez, the quarterback, R.J. Martinez, and I believe Nathan Anderson is the running back for the Westwood Warriors. And so I think that would be a good game between those two programs.
Of course, Georgetown on their bye week as well. I'll tell you what I'm going to do on my bye week. Got a call. I'm going to be doing my first high school PA gig up at Georgetown for San Saba, who's playing at Georgetown over at Birkelbach on Friday night. So I'm excited.
Oh, that's cool.
I got a call from my buddy Curtis. He said, Rob, what are you doing on Friday? And I said, I said, really nothing. He goes, well, you're not calling Georgetown, so you probably aren't doing it. I said, no, I'm really not. And he said, you want to come do a PA? I said, yeah, man, I would love that opportunity. So get to, sit in the seat up there. Steve, a lot of great folks have been up there through Georgetown, but just getting to sit there in that seat, and that's going to be a lot of fun, man. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
So we'll see what happens, man. No play-by-play on the PA. And then as we look at Gerald, they will be at home versus Rosebud Lot. It is the battle of the cats, the Cougars versus the Cougars.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking any goats, man. We got the goat here. This is St. Edward's goat. But sometimes this goat, it's been good luck for me on SHN Gridiron to just look at the goat, to kind of stare at the goat for just a couple of seconds, and then to say, you know what, man, nobody got time for that, and just throw the goat. And what happens is, it's not abuse. I love the goat, but that just shakes up the winning mentality for some reason. So that's that every SHN Gridiron show here, we're going to throw the goat.
Okay.
We fear the goat, throw the goat.
Just don't throw the goat through the window.
Don't throw the goat through the window. Well, we'll finish things up on Saturday on SHN Sports, at least here in Central Texas, with coverage as the Southwestern Pirates at home, the home opener, Birkelbach, there versus Louisiana College. Brad Tillery will be on play-by-play. Carl Schoening on color. Nathan, Mickey, Holden. You'll be at that game too, I believe. Correct?
I will be.
Awesome,
I'm
man.
slated to be there. Don't know what I'll be doing there yet, but I'll be
on
there in support. Well, whatever they need me to do.
We'll have you on the docket.
There you go.
On the docket, man. And then, hey, I wanted to remind folks, too, every Wednesday, of course, before this show, of course, we didn't have it this Wednesday because of the bye week, but you can catch the Eagle Nation Coaches Show. That'll take place every Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. at Berger University. We're on here around 8:30, 8:45 for SHN Gridiron. And then on Thursday night at the Sheraton Hotel, it is SU Football Weekly with head coach Joe Austin. So there is so much programming going on. And I failed to mention that we've got JV football throughout our network partners now, with Mejia and Malakoff broadcasting some of their JV games. You can catch those. North Forney now on the network. They started this year, and that was cool because it was North Forney versus Forney last Friday. We had that game here live on SHN Sports. Of course, Mejia Malakoff that I just talked about, and just many network partners throughout the area. Petey Doris over in North Carolina, Trevor Beard up in Oregon. We will have some winter sports coming on up in North Dakota. Hopefully they can bring a little of that cool weather down here to Georgetown. That would be nice.
Yeah, that would be nice. Maybe some rain.
And then, of course, Scotty Martin, Hutto. Scotty Martin with Cedar Creek, Todd Robinson over at Hutto. And I did want to mention one thing here before we sign off for the night. And we've already went over most of these. And I may ask you to chat about some of the other matchups off the SHN network, Michael. We'll briefly go over those as well. But Cedar Creek on the network this year, Scotty Martin, Pete Riefel, those guys are great. Scotty has done such a wonderful job. We're excited. Coming up tomorrow night, that award will be presented to a young man that you may or may not have already know who it is. We haven't let the cat out of the bag. But Cedar Creek, Coach John Edwards will be there September the 19th, tomorrow, 6:30 p.m., Leo's Italian Grill. It is the Cedar Creek Coaches Show. And so that is going to be exciting. It's called the Creek's Coaches Corner. That's the first coaches show of the season for Cedar Creek. We'll have it right here on SHN. So I'm looking forward to listening in on that one.
Yeah, it ought to be a good one. I mean, Cedar Creek 3-0 for the first time in school history. And as you had mentioned earlier, every game that they win in succession is
setting a school record.
And that's a good thing.
That's a team under the radar as well. I went out there to present the award last week to Ty Pruitt, and just that practice, the intensity, what Coach John Edwards is doing over there, there's something brewing over there with those birds, man, and it is a force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely, it is. They are a very, very good quality 5A team. We're used to they were more like the welcome mat at the door. Now they're the force at the door.
Yeah, I like the way you worded that. Well, Michael, some other matchups. I'll let you wrap this one up. I'll wrap it up with you after you're done. But what an exciting week coming up, man.
Oh, exciting week. Hendrickson at Vandegrift. Now, they want to talk about Vandegrift just a little bit. They're 3-0 right now, and they're 1-0 in district. And they have only allowed 7 points through 3 games.
Vandy Perf.
As
shout out Fanstan. I forget how Snoop does. What is that? Is it like this?
Like
there
this,
you go.
Yeah.
That's to you, Snoop, and that's yeah. There we go. Like that. There you go, Snoop. That's to you, Snoop. Casey Johns. We love you guys. Fanstan ATX. Hit them up at Fanstan ATX. Vandy Perf. Now they don't have a real high-powered offense because they've outscored their competition through 3 games, 59-7. Where there's some teams, Hutto, they've scored over 100 points versus their competition. Lake Travis and Westlake have outscored their competition by astronomical numbers. But their defense is extremely, extremely stingy. Cedar Ridge with Deuce Vaughn, outstanding running back over there, managed to get 7 points on the Vandegrift Vipers for the first time this season. So that's got to be a very good game, and that will be at Edmund Rowe Stadium over there on the campus of Vandegrift High School. Hendrickson Hawks, Round Rock at McNeil. Round Rock will play their first district game versus McNeil. Birds versus the horses.
As I like to say, that's Carl's alma mater.
It is.
So
it's cool, and I wanted to mention Sean Clinch has been working with the McNeil team this year, and it's good to hear Sean on the airwaves, man.
Right.
So we appreciate you, Sean. He's doing some stuff there with the McNeil Mavericks. We love you, Sean.
Yeah, we love you, buddy.
We love you, buddy. We just love you, buddy.
And we hope Mama Clinch is doing well.
Yeah, hope Mama Clinch is doing well, Sean.
So in Lake Travis at Aikens, that's probably going to be very heavily favored in Lake Travis's favor. Westlake at Austin. Now this one will be a little bit interesting. Westlake will obviously be favored, but Charles Wright, an outstanding quarterback for the Maroons, is just a dominant force, and that game will be played at House Park. So that great, as Thomas mentioned earlier, just an outstanding setting. Was for the Taco Shack Bowl when y'all were down there for that first game of the season. And right now, I believe that the Maroons running back is actually leading the area in rushing yards. I believe he has over 500 yards rushing through 3 games. So that ought to be pretty good. Rouse at A&M Consolidated. Rouse looking for their first victory of the season. Now here's another one. Cedar Park, their non-district schedule. They're kind of the guy that walks into the room and looks for the biggest guy to take on. And so they're taking on Cinco Ranch, and that will be at Gupton on Friday night. I may go see that one. I've never seen Cinco Ranch play, but
it'd be a fun game.
They're a very great program themselves out of the Houston area, so that'll be a good game. Looking at of course Houston Lamar at Hutto, or not at Hutto. I'm sorry. That game will be played in Waller.
So a little bit of a neutral, kind of a meet in the middle. We'll meet in the middle. It's not an official SHN season until we start singing. By the way,
right.
We'll meet in the middle. I don't make it in the music world, Michael.
Yeah, I think didn't you exercise your lungs on a little bit of karaoke?
I'll start Is it walking or talking? It's you start walking your way, I'll start walking mine. We'll meet in the middle. Do, 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 do. All right,
go,
we're done.
Bubba.
We're done. People,
We're done.
I was looking at the viewer count here on YouTube when I started doing that, and it just completely
dissipated.
wiped out.
It's like, oh, dude, man, we're just so sorry that we did that. So right now we've got some looking at district standings. 6A right now is the only classification in the area that's actually started their district schedule, and so in District 25 6A, Westlake sits atop that district at 3-0 and 1-0 in district. Lake Travis right behind them at 2-1, 1-0 in district, and the Maroons at 2-1, 1-0 in district. Anderson 3-0, 1-0 in district, and Del Valley at 2-1, 0-1 in district. Lehman 1-2, Aikens 1-2, and Hayes 2-0, and those three squads are winless in district. But I say Hayes is winless. They were on a bye last week, so they didn't play. District 13 6A, and that includes the LISD and Round Rock schools. Vandergrift, Stony Point, and Vista Ridge all at 3-0 and 1-0 in district. Westwood comes in at 2-1, 1-0 in district. Cedar Ridge and Henderson both and McNeil all at 1-2 and 0-1 in district play. Leander 0-3 and 0-1 in district play. Round Rock 2-0 on the season so far, and they were on a bye last week, so they have not played game number 3.
Yeah, Coach Cheatham has done such a great job year in and year out, of course. That was one of the first schools besides Sinton that I ever had the opportunity to broadcast for many years ago, and Cheatham was there then. He continues to be there. Great community, great school. Love what the Dragons do, and just really enjoy keeping up with them through Coach Cheatham and all that. And, you know, again, I always say not just to sit here and make this about the 11-5A. Going into this season, I kind of felt that Georgetown would fill out in that third spot, and we'll see. I'm not knocking the Eagles, but 11-8, it was against a tough South San team, but Georgetown has got to find a way. And again, it's a turnaround team this year for South San, the Bobcats down in San Antonio. But Georgetown has got to find a way to really get their offense on high power, because now you go through Stephenville here at home, and then you're going to face those powerhouses, Hutto and Cedar Park.
Right.
I still think that Hutto is going to roll with it here in 11-5A. They're going to finish the number 1 spot, as they do every year. Cedar Park's going to be right up there. If we beat Cedar Park, Georgetown, in my opinion, will finish second in 11-5A. If we have that continued, whatever you want to call it, every year it just seems like Georgetown cannot get past that. The bad omen, whatever you want to call it. The black cat ran across the field. Whatever the what is that called? A superstition.
Yes.
Whatever the superstition this year, if Georgetown can get over that and defeat Cedar Park, Georgetown will take the 2 seed. Cedar Park will take the 3 seed. If we lose, Cedar Park will finish second, Georgetown third. Mainer's going to find a way to escape in there at fourth. I really think that's how 11-5A is going to shape up.
I agree with you. I think that's probably how it's going to shape up. The only thing I would look at is, Hutto is I think they're going to run away with the district. I just think they're just that good. Their defensive front is outstanding, and I think they're just going to take care of business through the district. Coach LaPlante's got this team focused, and they're doing the right things. And not to say that there's not room for improvement. There's always room for improvement. But I think that telltale sign is going to be, okay, where are Cedar Park and Georgetown going to finish?
I think through the first 3 weeks, the really the surprise over in 13-5A has been the Cedar Creek Eagles. We've talked about that several times. Now our back-to-back school with an SHN Player of the Week presented by Georgetown Jewelry. Cedar Creek, of course, you talked about earlier there at the top, Bastrop, Eastview, and Weiss. I think that Eastview, if they continue to play, they play the way that they are. And wow, Coach Feacoch coming in from San Saba, brand new coach. He's a perfect 3-0 at Eastview. If the Patriots continue to play the way they are, and granted, against the Northeast, the former Reagan, not a solid team, not knocking those kids, but that was a very doable and winnable game. Eastview handedly won that game. But if they can continue putting up numbers and playing the way that they've played through these first 3 games, I really think that Eastview's got a chance to come out as that 13-5A champion. Cedar Creek, They have been the surprise in that district. Look for Cedar Creek to finish up there at second.
Oh, I think they're going to be – Cedar Creek may take this district. I can see them doing that. Eastview, I think the battle's really going to be with Eastview and Bastrop. Eastview could surprise you. They could come back. I mean, their non-district schedule included 6A squads. In fact, all 3 squads so far were 6A teams. And they took care of business and against a very good Westwood team and a scrappy New Braunfels team that managed to climb back into some games and show some fortitude. So I don't think it's a fluke that Eastview came away with those games with a win. And I think that will bode well through them in district play. Weiss, now there's a surprise. They went winless last year, and they're 2-1 in district right now. They beat both Rouse and Leander in their non-district schedule. So it's going to be a great season for those kids. Brenham and Glenn and Elgin. I mean, that's golly. I think that when you're looking at District 13 5A D2, that's one of the toughest districts, I think, in the area for sure. So that's going to be a hard one to call at that point. 11 5A really seemed like it's going to be a toss-up between a couple of those teams that we discussed in the top 4 to get the playoff spots. And you look at 12 5A D1, Dripping Springs and Austin LBJ. They're both at the top at 2-1. The one that is really surprising to me is Seguin. Mm-hmm. Seguin's always good, but right now they're sitting at 0-3 in their regular non-district schedule. So, who knows where that one's going to go. And looking at some of our other classifications, 4A, let's look at how they're going so far. District 14 4A D1, that includes Liberty Hill and Burnett, Lampasas. Canyon Lake, 2-1 in that district. They haven't started district play, so they're 2-1 in their non-district schedule. Lampasas 2-1, Burnett 2-1, Liberty Hill at 1-2. But who have their losses come against? They come against the Hutto Hippos and the Manor Mustangs. So that's a very good Liberty Hill team. They're very well coached. And, just like Cedar, as I mentioned, Cedar Park walks in the room, they're looking for the biggest guy to take on. Well, that's kind of what Liberty Hill decided to do. And they held their own. They really weren't blown out. I mean, there was a pretty good margin between them and Hutto, but Manor was lucky to walk out with a win. So
there's a lot shaping up, through these first 3 weeks. We'll see what happens. Several teams on the bye week, of course, with Georgetown and Eastview and others here throughout the Austin area. And this is where things start to get fun, Michael. And now we can starting to look at the numbers, look at the wins and losses, look at what players are standing out. Some surprising players that we may have never even really kept an eye on starting to stand out now. And we'll see what happens as we continue, man.
Well, this is the meat of the schedule. When you start getting into district play, that's when you start seeing the people the cream rise to the top. Non-district schedule really doesn't matter because those games don't count toward the playoffs. That only starts in district, and they'll take the top 4 teams. All the districts or all the classifications are broken up into D1 and D2. The exception with 6A is they don't actually break up into 2 divisions until the playoffs. And 5A was that way until the last realignment. Because you remember we'd hit the playoffs, and based upon student population, you either went to Division 1 or you went Division 2. Based on that, but 6A is the only one that doesn't practice that in their regular season district schedules.
Well, we're excited. We're going to continue coverage here on SHN Sports all season long. again, right here from the Georgetown Jewelry Broadcast Studio, where we want to thank those sponsors, Georgetown T-Shirt Company as well, and also Grand Endeavor Homes on the SHN Football Friday. Friends, remember to hit that subscribe button on YouTube, as we are getting close to 1,500 subscribers now. Again, the more subscribers means the more opportunities for these kids throughout the entire network and all the schools actually statewide to get coverage. You know, we're seeing guys like Trevor up in Banks, Oregon, which that's a Triple Crown school up there, a small, what they would consider a 3A here, Triple Crown school, which means that they've won state championships last year with all three of their major sports in football, basketball, and baseball. That's a feat, and Trevor, we were excited to bring him on when he reached out to us, and you know, he does a great job, and he's continuing to work on his what he does with his broadcasting, but just a passionate man, a passionate guy that loves his community. And Banks is getting 300, 400, 500 views now. And so, you know, it's exciting to see small schools like that. And like I've said, we're never going to skew views here. And I always tell our sponsors, and I tell anybody out there, if you ever want information, you call us. We've got analytics. And that's what's so great about doing this through the internet, is with pinpoint accuracy, we can tell you what age group, we can tell you where they're watching or listening from. We can tell you the details, what brand of cigarettes they smoke. No, I'm just kidding. We don't do that. But, I mean, literally, though, that's the kind of pinpoint accuracy you can get. And so we're able to see some of those logistical things. And the reason I brought that up is for Banks, Oregon. There's a lot of folks here in the state of Texas that are keeping an eye on some of these other teams now across the nation. And so we're excited as we continue to grow and expand our network, giving an opportunity for guys out there that are broadcasting to really bring exposure on more of a statewide and now a national setting here on SHN Sports. That's what it's about. It's about exposing these kids, bringing them to the spotlight. That's what it's all about. Speaking of spotlight, got an email today from Fox Sports Southwest here on SHN. From one of their PR folks, and looking forward to this. And we're going to arrange this interview. And more than likely, it's probably going to be over the phone. If we can do in person, we will. But Dave Burchett is a successful television sports director, nearly 40 years. He's worked with the Olympic Games as well as professional collegiate sports, directed television coverage for Texas Rangers baseball for 37 years. And again, I'm talking about Dave Burchett here. He has collected national Emmy, 2 local Emmys over his career. He's wrote books, and one of the best books that he has written, especially lately, is a book called Between the White Lines. And if you'll talk and remember about head coach W.T. Johnson, just a coach there here this last year that took his team to a state championship here in the state of Texas, and coach lost his life to it with a battle of a very rare lung disorder where he had to have a double lung transplant. And it was just emotional to see that coach and what he did with his kids at the end of the season. And now Dave telling that story through his book, again, Between the White Lines. And I'm excited to have him on. We're going to hear more about it and more about the coach and what he did and the legacy that he's left for these kids. That's what we want to do on SHN. And Steven is going to continue to work on SHN Football Friday as he is working out his strong moment of the week, which I'm going to enjoy that segment. But as Corey Fulbright and that documentary gets done with Austin Chittum, of course, we'll talk about it here on SHN and maybe even help Austin, really to promote that a little bit more. That is exciting to have these guys and these kids and just bring that type of exposure, Michael.
Oh, absolutely.
Final thoughts before we go to sleep. Before we head out tonight, man.
Oh, just looking forward to another great week of football. Looking forward to getting into some district play. Eastview will start their district play next week versus the Marble Falls Mustangs at Marble Falls. So Travis Banks and I will make the journey and bring Eastview Patriot football to the Patriot fan base, and we look forward to getting that started, getting into district play, and that's when the rivalries really start to
come on, baby.
We just,
in the words of Joshua Harris, get on down there and get the rest of it. Josh, we appreciate you and Oak Ridge Disciple House. Another fun night here on SHN Gridiron. Again, we couldn't do it without the wonderful support of great folks, Ricky Poe over at Georgetown Jewelry, really making a lot of our coverage possible here this season as we continue to promote and help schools and organizations, empowering them to promote their student athletes and events. Mike, always fun, brother. Appreciate you. And we will be back on the air here with SHN Gridiron next week. A whole new slate of guests as we talk to more student athletes, more coaches, more ways to promote these kids and really help get their names out there. Hoping, look, man, we can say what we want. I'm hoping for a Gerald victory. I want to see Gerald go up and take care of business versus Rosebud Lot. And I'm hoping, man, Rodriguez has a stellar game, and we can give him that SHN Sports Player of the Week coming up. We want to get them 3A schools in there, man.
That would be great.
Granger over in 2A, Travis Sessoms, Puddin. I talked to him the other day, and
chicken wing.
It looks like, before we sign out, looks like a chicken wing Puddin. Looks like that Granger is setting themselves up again for another playoff run this season. If that happens, of course, we'll do our best to have that playoff coverage here on SHN Sports as well. So we really want to help empower those smaller schools to get the coverage that those kids need, as we do with Gerald and other ones. So, well, for Michael Francis, friends, I'm Rob Hipp, all across our SHN network. So many partners, so many wonderful folks that make our job easy and makes what we do possible. Again, those sponsors, Ricky Poe, Georgetown Jewelry, Georgetown Shirt Company. We also want to thank Grand Endeavor Homes on SHN Football Friday and so many others. Thank you for allowing us to do what we do to help promote these kids. Michael, fun night. We will catch up with you next time. Remember, friends, as I end every broadcast on a serious note, reminding you tonight that we're not strong enough alone to make it on our own. We need each other. Provide a word of encouragement. We'll lend a hand of support. Good night. God bless from Georgetown, Texas.
Good night, everyone.
...2019 high school football on SHN Sports is proudly presented by Georgetown Jewelry. Georgetown Jewelry is your trusted local jewelry store, family owned and operated since 2013. Whether you desire a one-of-a-kind custom piece or want to enjoy browsing our inventory of both unique and traditional jewelry and watches, stop by and see us at Georgetown Jewelry. We also specialize in jewelry repair and appraisals. For more information, please visit Georgetown Jewelry, located in the Williamsburg Village Shopping Center in Georgetown, or online at georgetownjewelry.com. Central Texas High School football on SHN Sports is made possible by Georgetown and Austin Shirt Company. 3 words describe Georgetown and Austin Shirt Company: simple, reliable, and awesome. We support our community. From screen printing and embroidery to promotional products, Georgetown and Austin Shirt Company helps put your brand on your business. Get started on your project today by getting a quick and easy quote online at georgetownshirtcompany.com. Jimmy Jacobs' reputation for building beautiful custom homes in Central Texas speaks for itself. For over 30 years, he has been behind some of the most successful and sought-after new home developments in Georgetown. Grand Endeavor Homes represents a new era of elegant custom home building. Now joined by his son, Justin Jacobs, Jimmy has launched Grand Endeavor Homes to continue his legacy and reputation for custom homes in Georgetown and the surrounding areas. Visit GrandEndeavorHomes.com for details and directions to the model home.